Tere.
Servus.
Marhaba.
Hola. Hello.
I'm inspired that there's so many people working to accomplish the same goal of creating a connected future.
By having students lead clubs on campus directly supported by Google developers, that's the best way to reach out to students.
It's really inspirational always to hear about members of the community who echo your values and echo your beliefs.
I've been listening more than I've been speaking, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing because I'm just getting all these ideas.
Google, it needs to reach a wider audience and be more relatable as a company, and I think Google is one of the brands that is very good at doing that.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. This is going to be our Cloud Hero game for Hop Hacks. So we're going to do a quick round of introductions before we get started. My name is Daniel Fiorello. I am the Developer Student Club Community Manager in the US. I lead Alex, who's directly below me, in the DSC Club. We put on events to help you all get connected with Google technologies. And this is one of the events you could come to expect from DSC. So if you haven't had a chance to check out your Developer Student Club, take a moment and connect with us after. We will get you connected to the chapter. But let's continue on. So Brian, go ahead.
Hey everyone, my name is Brian. I work on hackathon operations, and I'm really excited to kick off this workshop here at Hop Hacks.
Hi everyone, my name is Ryan Matsumoto. I'm a developer advocate at Google, focused on Google Cloud. And yeah, really excited for this workshop. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
And hey folks, what's up? I'm Aaron. Nice to see you all here. Out of Austin, Texas, we are excited. We work on hackathon operations with Brian, and thank you for attending this event and all of the future hackathons, and for working with Google Cloud to build your solutions.
Hey guys, this is Alex. I'm currently a combined bachelor's master's candidate at Johns Hopkins University. And as Daniel mentioned, I am also the student lead for the Hopkins chapter of DSC, which is short for Developer Student Clubs. Yeah, I'm very excited to be here in collaboration with not only Google Cloud, but also Hop Hacks. Great. So, yeah, so we already did a little bit of intros, but as I briefly mentioned, I'm currently a master's student here at Johns Hopkins. I studied AMS for my undergrad, and I'm currently pursuing master's degree in data science. And this is Ryan, who will be introducing some data and ML introduction later on during this workshop. So here's an agenda of what we're going to be doing today. So first, we're going to learn about the game itself and specifically why we're playing it. We'll hear from Ryan about some relevant solutions, as well as what the possibilities are in terms of using them. So practical applications and all that good stuff. And then we will move on to how to play, setting up for the first lab. And after we've created a Quicklabs account and enter the campaign code that we're given, then we'll let the games actually begin. At the very end, though, we'll close out the workshop with some pro tips and advice that will hopefully assist you in completing the other 3 labs and have a quick Q&A session. So first off, just a brief introduction. What is cloud computing, right? It's thrown around a lot. Some people think it's kind of a hype term, some marketing word, and basically it can be very confusing. But at the most basic level, it simply means that we're getting things done using someone else's computers and machines. This definition you're reading here, of course, not cloud computing. So GCP, Google Cloud Platforms, is a software that allows us to use Google's computing infrastructure, helping us run our applications. And basically, again, what is Google Cloud? It is a suite of secure storage, innovative machine learning, powerful compute, and integrated data analytics products and services. So how do you build skills to get the most out of these really powerful technologies? Well, you have to kind of take a new approach. So what do I mean by that? Equipping your team with the right skills, well, it can make or break your journey to the cloud. Because traditionally, IT training has largely been centered around only one piece of technology, but the world we live in today, cloud technology requires a really new way of learning. It's really no longer just about learning and operating the technology itself, but requires a change in mindset. First, Google Cloud Training really helps you understand how you use that technology within a job function to build cloud solutions that drive cross-functional success. And we also have role-based learning to help your team thrive in a cloud-first world, helping them move from maintainers to strategists, innovators, and hopefully disruptors. And so what is Cloud Hero? Well, it's basically a virtual hands-on training event using the game functionality on Quicklabs to help technical practitioners gain skills through interactive learning in a fun and competitive environment. So in short, Cloud Hero brings developers together, competing against one another in gamified labs by using their Google Cloud skills. It's only one of the many interactive products from the Higher Education Learning Center from Google Cloud. But overall, just one of many steps towards the path of gaining some perks and certifications. So, quick overview of the labs that will be included in the data and machine learning with BigQuery. Today's workshop will be going over BigQuery, Quick Start Command Line. So each of these labs are building blocks and they build on each other. Obviously, you see some subsequent labs that you can feel free to check out as well, such as weather data in BigQuery. Now, the Higher Education Learning Center from Google Cloud provides people with credits and professional certifications. And basically, there are many ways to keep learning after this event. And here's the URL to that you need to know and visit. So participating in workshops like Cloud Hero, along with other labs within Google Cloud Learning Center, can really help individuals begin their collection of skill badges. And now you might be wondering, what exactly are skill badges? Well, they're gained by completing a series of hands-on labs, including final assessment, which basically tests your skills, and earn a Google Cloud skill badge to share with your network. And a challenge lab is a scenario-based lab where you have to take the steps to complete the task. There are no instructions, and you rely on what you previously learned. So here is a brief overview of the multiple skill badges that you can potentially earn. This Cloud Hero will be step one of getting the data, machine learning, and AI badge. Completing the remaining other 3 labs and game will gain you a Cloud Hero skill badge that starts your path. So where can this take me? Why is collecting skill badges important? Well, these badges help you all practice and training for a series of things. Learning, practicing, and preparing, as well as ultimately taking the Associate Cloud Engineer certification. How cool is that? And earning credentials like these, great way to show potential employers what you know and what you can do. So with that being said, I would like to hand the mic over to Ryan for an introduction to data and machine learning.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. And now I think Danny's going to switch over the presentation to my screen. First off, we have this nice photo here. So does anyone know where this photo was taken? Maybe ping some guesses into the chat. So this photo is of one of Google's many data centers all around the world. And this one is in Council Bluffs, Iowa. So these data centers house all of the compute, storage, and networking capabilities that help to run Google products. So things like Gmail, Google Drive, Google Photos, stuff like that. And in recent years, Google has applied its massive computing scale to something called cloud computing, which is basically sharing these computing resources and infrastructure with developers like yourself so that you can build and run applications on Google's computing infrastructure. So when you use Google Cloud Platform, you are using a small slice of one of these data centers to get things done and power your applications. So essentially, Google Cloud Platform is a suite of developer products that help us build amazing applications using Google's computing power. And here's just a small sample of some of the different Google Cloud products. We have dozens and dozens of them. And they're broken up into categories like compute, big data, machine learning, and storage and databases. We would be here for several days if I were to talk about every single one of our products. So we're just going to focus on these products today in big data and machine learning. So now that you have a foundational knowledge about Google Cloud, let's learn a bit more about machine learning on Google Cloud. Let's consider this example problem of distinguishing between photos of puppies and photos of muffins. This is an image classification problem. So one really simple way to go about this would be to set up a bunch of rules. So maybe we decide that any photo with eyes or ears is a puppy, while any photo with something in a wrapper is a muffin. But sometimes it's not going to be so easy. So now the rule for looking for eyes doesn't work because we have those blueberry muffins, and the blueberries look a lot like eyes. So this shows us that using those hard-coded rules only goes so far in helping us to classify images, and we're probably going to need something a bit more complex to solve this problem. So here's another example. So we have this sentence, the brown quick fox jumps over the lazy dog. So what's special about this sentence is that it has every single letter of the English alphabet in it from A to Z. And you might notice that there's also something wrong about this sentence. So you might have noticed that instead of the brown quick fox, it should be the quick brown fox. And the reason why this is the case is that there are different syntax rules for adjective order in English, where they have to be ordered in this order, with quantity or number coming first and purpose or qualifier coming last. So you might have noticed that you just sort of knew this intuitively without having to refer to these rules. And the reason for that is that you sort of know these rules subconsciously, and you learn them over time via experience, by observing how sentences are structured, by hearing people talk and reading books. And over time, you gain this experience of observing patterns with words and sentences and internalize these syntax rules without even knowing them explicitly. So that's sort of similar to how machine learning works. So machine learning is learning from rules plus experience. So here's a nice diagram showing how machine learning differs from classical programming. With classical programming, we have the inputs of the rules and the data, and we apply the rules to that data to get our output of the answers. But with machine learning, it's a bit different. We start out with the input of our data and also our answers for that data, and we work backwards, and we figure out, based on the answers for that data, what are the rules? And then we can take those rules and apply them to new pieces of data, and that's sort of the general process of machine learning. So what is machine learning? One definition from the IEEE organization says that machine learning is the study of computer algorithms that improve automatically through experience. A simpler definition by Yufeng Guo, a developer advocate at Google, is that machine learning is using data to answer questions. And with machine learning, we essentially have a three-step process: data collection, model generation, and prediction. So we take the training data, we use it to create a predictive model, and then we use that model to predict future results on new pieces of data. And as our machine learning model takes in more data over time, it can generate more accurate predictions because it's learning via experience. So ML teaches a computer to make repeated decisions using standard algorithms and lots of data. So the data is really important here because we use all that input data to help us train our model and make it better and better as time goes on. So machine learning is used a lot at Google internally for Google products. So one example of machine learning at Google is with Google Photos. So I'm sure a lot of you use the Google Photos app. And one of my favorite features with Google Photos is the keyword search. So you can actually search your photos for all photos that have keywords of dog or Hawaii. And Google Photos uses computer vision technology to label different photos based on Google's machine learning models. So Google trains on billions of images, and eventually it creates a predictive model to generate descriptions for what's going on in each image. So Google Photos automatically determines what's in each image using machine learning. So another example is with the Google Home. So with the Google Home, you can ask it to do things for you, like turn off the lights or play your favorite song. And with the Google Home, it uses machine learning for speech-to-text and text-to-speech transcription so that it knows what you want it to do for you. And another example of machine learning at Google is with the Google Translate app. So with this app, you can get an instant in-app translation of street signs captured by your camera. And it will actually transpose the translated text directly onto your screen. So accurate translation is a really difficult problem to solve, but it's made a lot easier with machine learning. And Google does this really well. So one of the challenges with AI and machine learning is that it can be very hard to get started and to actually use and build machine learning models. So very few people actually have the skills to create their own custom machine learning models. So one of our goals with the Google Cloud is to empower more users to help build AI into their applications without having to actually know that much machine learning themselves. So our vision at Google Cloud is to make AI easy, fast, and useful for all developers. We believe that AI is a fundamental cloud technology that will eventually benefit all enterprises. And the capability of AI isn't really the question. It's at the point where AI research has shown that it can and does power real applications. But the biggest barrier to adoption is getting it into the hands of customers and making it easy for them to take advantage of machine learning, even if they don't have a ton of skills with it. So this is why with Google Cloud, we're building solutions that can reach developers where they're at and make it easy for them to adopt and deploy machine learning models regardless of their own AI expertise. So now let's go ahead and watch a video that showcases how some of Google Cloud's AI solutions can be used. And in particular, this is a video about how a group of students in LA use machine learning to solve for a societal problem.
Of Los Angeles.
LA has over 7,400 miles of roads and freeways.
That's a lot of roads and a lot of potholes to fix.
Right now, construction workers have to manually inspect roads for dangerous potholes and cracks, or rely on people calling in tips, which takes a lot of time.
While studying at LMU, we started to see if we could figure out a faster way to identify potholes throughout the city.
First, we needed data. So we rigged a camera to a car and we drove around to capture footage of different roads and freeways.
Then, we used TensorFlow, Google's open-source machine learning tool, to develop a model that could quickly identify potholes, road cracks, and other weird stuff with a high rate of accuracy. Which means workers can spend less time finding potholes and more time fixing them.
Awesome. And now we are going to turn it back over to Alex to get started with our Quicklabs.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan, for that very informative introduction to data and machine learning. Now we'll actually get to do a little bit more hands-on exercises. So yeah, let me explain how to play. Before we get started, just a couple of tips I want to let you guys know about. First, we're going to use an incognito window because that way when we start using the assigned credentials, you will find that everything goes more smoothly. So trust, incognito is the way to go here. And also, by the way, Google Chrome browser works best for Quicklabs, and then Firefox, although you can realistically use any browser you want. So please sign into Quicklabs if you already have an account. If not, you can click join. You can go to google.quicklabs.com. This will be our hands-on lab environment where we get to actually really be in the live Google Cloud Platform ecosystem. And basically, here are some things that you would have to do in order to change language, but this is purely optional. You go to my account, profile info, and then click language and update user. This is optional as well. You can feel free to change your player name. You can use your real name, but pick a family-friendly player name, please. And this is also for us to know who the winners actually are. So your first name and last name is good. You can copy this game link into your incognito bar, and this will be the campaign access code that we'll be using today, 2FEDUCR hop. When the pop-up window shows up, you can insert this access code, and once you've entered it, you'll be granted access to the 4 labs and the game. This is an example of what you should see. It should read Cloud Hero, University Data, and ML. So this game has 4 labs. We'll go through the first one together. And after this workshop is done, you will need to complete the remaining 3 labs plus game in order to gain your Cloud Hero skill badge, basically. So basically, after this workshop, feel free to complete the other 3 labs at your own pace. So each time you're in a lab, you're going to be using an anonymous set of credentials. So please make sure not to confuse the student logins or the project IDs. And if you do confuse them, then you might not be able to complete exercise in subsequent labs. So keep everything straight for each lab. And really, this is the main reason why we're using incognito today. And very, very important, please remember you will start each lab and get new logins. And so you have to click that button. And when you finish it, you must end each lab by clicking the end lab red button before going on to the next one. And yeah, as I said, you will start each lab and get new logins. Cool. So we're about to begin. Hopefully everyone is ready. But just a friendly reminder, the following portion of this workshop will be recorded as a reference for the other 3 labs. So from now, I will be actually showing you guys how this all works. You guys can feel free to follow along with me, or you can simply work at your own pace, whatever your preference is. So yeah, let me share my screen now. Okay, so you guys should be able to see my screen. Please type in the chat if you don't. But this is basically the homepage for Google at quicklabs.com. What we would want to do first is, in my case, I already have an account. So I'm going to click sign in with Google. And yeah, I'm already logged in. So I didn't have to type my password, but you will need to. This is the homepage. You will see a bunch of things right here, and we're going to click on Cloud Hero, University Data, and ML. So I see that a couple people are already in this. That's pretty cool. So what we're going to be doing from here is click on this. So as I mentioned, these are the 4 labs. Today, we're going to be walking through the very first one, BigQuery Quick Start Command Line. So click on this, and now we are in. Going to click on Start Lab. do a few of these verifications. Taking a little longer than I expected. Give me 1 second. Okay. Bear with me for 1 second. Okay, we're good, finally. There were a little bit of hiccups, but now we're here. So we see on the left-hand side a couple of things. So we have the username and we have the password. So what we want to do is after clicking the Start Lab, we want to open a Google console. That will direct you into a new page. In this case, you would not use your actual account. You would use what is provided here. So I'm going to copy it. And then I'm also going to copy paste my password. Click accept. Let me share this other screen so that you guys are able to follow along. Oops, sorry, wrong one. Yep, so this is basically the screen you will see. Click confirm. And it takes just a few seconds to load. And now we're actually in. So we're in the GCP platform. Obviously click terms of service, we hit agree. So now we are good to go. So basically, we're just gonna be following the other tab that we already had open, which is basically just the instructions for the tutorial, BigQuery quick start command line. We want to basically follow along. And the most important thing is to click this button on the top right corner. We click Activate Cloud Shell. This is very important because it kind of acts as a terminal, but on the actual GCP platform. Again, takes a few seconds to load. So let's just wait. And yep, now we are in. But yeah, so when you're connected, you're already authenticated. So the project is already set to your project ID. So now we can actually do a couple of things. First, we can list the active account name with this command. So for example, we do Google Cloud off list. So we're able to see actually like the account name and information and stuff like that. So now, by the way, I'm just going through the other tab that we had open, which should have the timer starting from 30 minutes. So yeah, let's keep going. We can also click list the project ID with this command, Google Cloud config list project. And we see that this is the active configuration. So now we're gonna move on. Basically, we have everything set up. We were able to get the credentials, get the access code and everything. So now we're actually ready to do some actual querying. But before that, we're gonna have to examine a table. So BigQuery offers a number of sample tables. But for this workshop and this tutorial today, we're gonna examine the Shakespeare table in the sample dataset. So what we're gonna do is run this command. BigQuery show this Shakespeare public dataset. And as you can see here, this is the output that you should be getting. which basically looks at the schema of the Shakespeare dataset. Obviously, schema is just the structure and the organization, of this database. So we see things like total bytes, expiration, and labels, and all that good stuff. So moving forward, run the help command. How do we do that? We do BigQuery help query. See a list of things here for your reference. Now we get to some fun part, actually running queries. For example, we have this data set. We might be starting to ask ourselves some questions. For example, how many times the substring raisin appears in Shakespeare's work? So to run a query, we have to first run the command bq query and inserting the SQL command afterwards. So we're going to have this right here. And we see a couple of counts. We have praising, raising, and actually, surprisingly, the actual word raisins. But this is basically your very standard SQL query structure, using the word clause to specify what the word is and selecting the specific word and its count. Let's keep moving forward. It's also important to make sure that you have hit check my progress after running it. And then a green check mark should be able to pop up on your other tab with your timer, obviously. But moving forward, if you search for a word that does not appear in any of Shakespeare's works, no results are returned. In this case, let's use an example, huzzah. I'm not sure if that word actually exists, but let's see. Yep, it does not exist, and it does not return anything. Again, remember making sure to check your progress. Next, let's try to create some new tables. First, creating a data set. So how do we list existing data sets in the project? We do BQLS. Obviously, we don't have any, but we can look at a list of the BigQuery public data, and there is a bunch of them. So we do this command, and we see that there are a large number of them, including the COVID-19 Johns Hopkins data set, which is definitely a very popular data set out there right now. Anyway, let's keep going. We see a bunch of data set IDs. That's cool. But now let's actually create a new data set. Let's say we want to create a data set of baby names. So we're going to use this command. And it has been successfully created. Great. Again, checking my progress. We will want to, before we move on, just quick confirmation that this exists. We run this command again, and yes, it does. Now, before we build the table, we need to add the data set to the project. So now, uploading the data set. We're going to use this command, wget, from this actual website. So specifically, this is provided by the Social Security Administration. And we see that, it takes a little bit of time, and we should be good to go. We use ls to list the files. And we see that the name of the file added, but then because they're in zip format, we want to actually unzip them. And there's a bunch of them, a bunch of text files right here. And that's a pretty big list. So we're gonna just list them again so that they look more formatted. So the bq load command creates or updates a table and loads data in a single step. Basically, we're gonna create a table here using this command. So using BQ load, creating the table with a few of these requirements, and sample output, this is what we should be getting. Current status, done. Awesome, awesome. Everything going great so far. Again, Remember to make sure to check your progress as you keep going. Again, we run this command. We keep going back to this ls command, but this is just to make sure that indeed it exists. And yes, it does. We have table ID, names, 2010, and it is of table type. We're gonna show this data set and examine the schema for this one. So we see some things like string for the name, and we see an integer for count, which is pretty much what we would be expected to see. So now on to actually running some queries. Query the data returns some very interesting results. So, for example, let's say I'm interested in examining the top 5 most popular girl names. Again, going to use BQ query following this very standard SQL statement structure. And yeah, we see that Isabella, Sophia, and Emma among some of the most popular girl names. And then we keep going using that very similar logic. Now let's say, I want to see 5 of the most unusual boy names. So we're going to do this. This structure, pretty much the same. We're going to query from this exact same data set. We're also going to select the name and the frequency, but in this case, we specify a different gender, and we also order by ascending order, picking the top 5. In this case, we get the 5 least frequently appearing names. So we see names like Aiden, Arian. Well, they definitely seem pretty unusual to me. At least I don't personally know any one of these names. Oh, and also the minimum count here is 5 because we want to mirror the source data, and the source data omits names with fewer than 5 occurrences. Again, we hit a checkpoint, so hit check my progress. So basically, multiple choice questions to reinforce your understanding of this lab's concepts. So you can access BigQuery using, for example, do something like this, at least 1 or more. Web UI, ooh, a little bit rough. But anyway, let's keep moving along. Now we're in the cleanup section, and we're going to be running the bqrm command to actually remove the data set. Confirm the delete command. We're going to click Y here. Should be good to go. Again, make sure to check your progress. And seems like we have hit the very end of the tutorial. So this is a very short tutorial walking through a bunch of things, including setting up the environment, examining tables, making new tables and uploading data, and also running queries. Make sure you hit the End Lab button on your other tab. And yeah, hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully you were able to extract some value from that. And let me go back to the presentation. Give me 1 second. Okay, cool. So we walked through some of this, some other things. Basically, this is how the timing and scoring works. But here's the thing, we're here to learn. But if you want a friendly competition, then try to be as fast and accurate as you do these labs. Also, pro tips, you can redo a lab up to 5 times and the fastest score will be used for those of you who have a little bit more of a competitive spirit out there. And yeah, so now we'll be wrapping up the workshop. So now that we know how to start and end a lab and walk through the actual environment together, let's review how you can see your score in the game. So this score tab demonstrates how well you're doing. And here's the leaderboard, which we will have up and we'll give progress updates. You can also see it when you're in game and in a lab. This score tab demonstrates how well you're doing, but know that only the top 50 scores appear on the leaderboard plus your own score. The GCP console has a few areas to know about too. So the search bar in the middle allows you to quickly jump to other GCP service pages. The prompt icon to the right of the search bar opens a Cloud Shell, which is a virtual machine in the GCP account with all of the Google Cloud command line tools already installed. So many challenges can be completed in the console, but some will require the command line, and this is how you'll get there. The icon of the box with an arrow in it at the top of the Cloud Shell can be used to pop the Cloud Shell out into a new window. So we've got a few ways to get help during the game. There's 24-hour support. Use the blue button in the lab. And you can always Google for help. If you want to know more, you can see this very clear documentation over here. With that being said, thank you for joining us. After the game ends, the top scorers will be contacted by email. So keep your eye out on the leaderboard for the winners. However, you are all winners for your initiative in learning new skills and new cloud skills. And here are just some of the socials. This is our website, jhudsc.com. If you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to email me at hang66@jhu.edu. Obviously we're in a virtual setting. Everything is very different, to say the least. Obviously, this club will be run very differently as well. So if you have any suggestions, any events that you would like to attend, I welcome any and all suggestions. With that being said, I'm going to turn the mic back to Ryan, and he'll be talking some other points, including the API challenge.
Cool. Thanks, Alex. Really great job with that workshop. So with the hackathon, I'm assuming a lot of you are coming here from HopHacks. So we have an API challenge for best use of Google Cloud. So just use any Google Cloud product to qualify. And each member of the winning team will receive a Cloud Patagonia backpack, a trophy, and a water bottle. We also have a second place prize, which is a Google Nest Mini for each team member. And we also have a second challenge, which is for the Google Cloud COVID-19 Hackathon Fund. So we are looking for outstanding projects that use Google Cloud to solve for COVID-19 related challenges. So selected projects will receive an invitation to apply for up to $5,000 of additional Google Cloud credits and guidance from Google developers to continue your project beyond the hackathon. So potential categories include healthcare and life sciences, economic impact, social engagement, and education and distance learning. And you can visit g.co/learncloud/hackathon-fund for more details about the Hackathon Fund. So to get started with Google Cloud, check for an email from Major League Hacking to get $50 in Google Cloud credits to use during the hackathon. And we also have a Firebase Tech Talk today at 11 p.m. Eastern Time, so that's in 15 minutes, where one of our colleagues, Andrea, covers several key Firebase products like Cloud Firestore, Firebase Hosting, and Firebase Authentication. And if you have any questions or need help, ping us on Discord, and we're happy to help you throughout the events. So thanks so much. You are all cloud heroes.